how divisive Bill C-21 is. Mr. Speaker, I believe that everyone in this House wants to ensure that Canadians are safe. In 2021, 173 women and girls were killed in Canada. We must always stand up against violence against women. But I cannot stand and watch a government mislead survivors and victims' families. We must work towards a violent-free Canada. Bill C-21 is targeting the wrong people. Hear, hear. We must have a stronger, safer community, free of illegal guns, free of violence against women. Members of the LGBTQ community and Indigenous women and girls must be violent-free, and every Canadian as well. Femicide in Canada has increased. Violence against women has increased. But, sir, crime in Canada has also increased. Rather than making bad policies and dividing communities across Canada, I ask this government to do better. Your policies are failing. Your scrap Bill C-21 and actually consult. Make a real difference and make Canadians safe.
The honourable member.
Questions. Question orale, the honourable leader of the opposition.
Au nom de l'opposition officielle.
On behalf of the official opposition, I would like to add my name to all those who are offering condolences to the family of 𝐥𝐞𝐿 and to the Liberal caucus and all his friends. Our thoughts and prayers are with you in this time of mourning.
Monsieur le Président, le Premier ministre a nié.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said that he does not want to ban hunting weapons, but now Liberal members, public servants, and Indigenous groups are saying that the list does include a large number of hunting weapons that are entirely appropriate for civilian use. When will this government target real criminals and put more resources at our border and do something about the real criminals instead of attacking hunters who are simply doing their work legally? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to start by thanking my colleague and all colleagues who have expressed all of the sorrow and empathy that they feel due to the death of our friend, the Honourable 𝐥𝐿. I know tomorrow we'll have more time to discuss that at length. I really want people to remember that he was an exceptional man and parliamentarian.
To community, to region, to country, his devotion to the idea of a Canada that was even better, where everyone came together to build a strong future, his passion, his thoughtfulness, his commitment to the prairies, his commitment to Canada will be long remembered and needs inspire us all every single day as we notice the empty seat amongst us. Merci.
The honourable leader of the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the government has the wrong target when it comes to public safety. They're banning hundreds, in fact, we don't know exactly how many because their officials can't tell us, of lawful to previously legal hunting rifles and shotguns that are used by First Nations, by farmers, and by rural people right across the country. Meanwhile, last week, a man who was convicted of second-degree murder had been released early and is now rearrested for 51 counts of trafficking firearms. Why won't they go after this criminal and others like him instead of targeting Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle in Cape Breton?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are united around the need to see our communities safer, and most Canadians understand that that means eliminating the guns that are most dangerous, those guns that are designed to kill the largest number of people in the shortest amount of time. That's why 2 years ago we moved forward with a ban on assault-style weapons, but we also know that we need to ensure that that ban stays in place, and that's why we're moving forward with a definition to define assault-style weapons. We will continue to consult with Canadians and all parliamentarians to ensure that we're capturing the right weapons, but we will, Mr. Speaker, keep Canadians safe.
Leader of the Opposition.
Only he's not capturing the right weapons, according to his very own Liberal MP for the Yukon, who said this is really upsetting. Many Yukoners regularly hunt either as a food source or for recreational aspects of hunting. I'm not happy with this bill. Other Liberal MPs have said likewise, and the Prime Minister's own public servants have testified that hunting rifles will be banned under his proposed amendment. Now that he's been caught with his real agenda, which is to go after hunters and farmers rather than gun smugglers and gangsters, will he reverse himself and promise never again to go after our hunters in this country?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
While Conservative politicians continue to fearmonger and share disinformation, we're doing the work necessary to keep Canadians safe. We will continue to consult on the list because, yes, we are not interested in going after guns that are typically used for hunting and protecting farms. We're going to continue to make sure that we're banning the most dangerous weapons that were designed to kill people in the shortest amount of time. That is something, unfortunately, the Conservatives want to make legal assault-style weapons again, Mr. Speaker, and that's why they're in the pockets of the gun lobby, and that's why we're standing strong.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, a young man was caught with a prohibited weapon loaded with 72 rounds of ammunition that was spared jail time thanks to a Liberal law supported by the Bloc and the NDP. There is no longer a minimal sentence for this type of crime in Canada. On the one hand, we let criminals roam free, and on the other hand, the government wants to penalize honest gun owners with Bill C-21, a double standard. Could the Liberals go after the real criminals and leave the hunters alone? The Honourable Minister of Justice. Mr. Speaker, the security of our communities is obviously a priority. We've always said that serious crimes will have serious consequences, but we also know that our system, it needs reform. With C5, we've left aside unnecessarily severe policies, particularly those who penalize blacks and marginalized peoples. The old system wasn't working. Mr. Speaker, we're proud of the adoption of C5 and on the effects it will have on Canadians.
St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, in Quebec, a man who was convicted of drug trafficking and possession of illegal weapons avoided prison time thanks to the Liberals' new law abolishing minimum sentences for certain gun crimes. On the one hand, we have the Liberals letting dangerous criminals run free, and on the other hand, we have the Prime Minister going after hunters and farmers. When will the Prime Minister stop attacking hunters and farmers and deal with the real problem of criminals smuggling drugs and guns? When, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Minister of Justice. Mr. Speaker, we all want a society that is safer, where serious crimes have serious consequences. But, Mr. Speaker, we also have a duty to follow the evidence and abandon policies that are failures, that didn't work. And that's exactly what we've done with C5. We are going to put the resources where they need to be to ensure that our society is safer. Honourable Member for Kildonan.
Have a situation where there is a serious criminal who is heavily armed, trafficking drugs, doing it all illegally, and it's because of these Liberals and their soft on crime policies that this man, instead of going to prison, can now serve his sentence from the comfort of his home, Mr. Speaker. That is a serious crime, but no serious time under this Liberal government. So why are they going soft on criminals on one side, letting this guy serve house arrest from the comforts of his home, but attacking honest, trained, tested, and law-abiding hunters and farmers, Mr. Speaker? Why are they doing that? Why are their priorities so misplaced, Mr. Speaker?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I would remind the honourable member and honourable members and Canadians across Canada, Mr. Speaker, that conditional sentence orders are only only available where there is no threat to public security. And the person, Mr. Speaker, who is best placed to make that determination, Mr. Speaker, according to the evidence, is the sentencing judge, who has all of the information in front of the bench and makes that determination, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are proud to follow policies that work and abandon policies that don't.
The honourable member for Brantford-Brant.
Mr. Speaker, once again, criminals are thanking this Liberal government for their soft-on-crime agenda. This week, a Montreal criminal was convicted of drug trafficking and possession of loaded illegal weapons. Instead of a mandatory minimum sentence in prison, he is serving a sentence in the comfort of his own home. Wow. This government is failing Canadians. Crime is skyrocketing, and instead of dealing with the problem, they want to ban hunting rifles. When will this government stop targeting law-abiding hunters and finally go after the dangerous criminals?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Speaker, and I assure my colleague we are doing precisely that, including with Bill C-21, which will raise maximum sentence against hardened gun traffickers, which will give police additional powers to bust up those networks which would terrorize our communities. We also introduced $450 million over the last 2 years for the CBSA to stop illegal gun smuggling at the border. Mr. Speaker, what did the Conservatives do? They voted against. Mr. Speaker, they've got to walk the talk on this. The Conservatives should reverse their position, and they should support Bill C-21 and all the support we're offering law enforcement on the front lines. Thank you.
The honourable member for Nanaimo-Ladysmith.
Mr. Speaker, people deserve to know that they are safe from gun violence in our communities. C-21 was an opportunity to limit handguns and protect victims of domestic violence. But instead of protecting people, the Liberals made a last-second change unfairly impacting hunters, farmers, and Indigenous people and the tools they use for food security and protection. Concerned constituents in my riding of Nanaimo-Ladysmith want to know, when will this government listen and clean up this mess?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
And I assure my colleague that we are indeed listening to Indigenous peoples. Last week, I spent the better part of the morning consulting and engaging with Indigenous leaders right across the country, making sure that we protect Indigenous traditions, including as it relates to food security. Mr. Speaker, we're creating space for Indigenous-led initiatives when it comes to public safety, and we're going to make sure that the language of Bill C-21 aligns with our government's priority, which is to take those guns which were designed for the battlefield off of our streets and protect Indigenous traditions at the same time. Thank you.
The honourable member for Churchill-Keewatinook, Aski.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals couldn't be more out of touch with Northern and Indigenous communities. Indigenous leaders at the AFN unanimously opposed the Liberals' amendment to Bill C-21. This amendment is a threat to Indigenous and Northern ways of life. It is a slap in the face for communities that depend on hunting and trapping to live, people that are facing some of the highest costs of living right now. Bill C-21 was meant to be important legislation to deal with handgun violence, but the Liberals have chosen to play cheap political games. Will the Liberals withdraw the amendment, stick to the main bill, and stand up for Northern and Indigenous peoples struggling right now?
The Honourable Minister for Northern Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for that question. We will always respect hunters, sports shooters, and Indigenous peoples and their traditions. Our government has been extremely clear. We are not targeting hunting rifles. We are not targeting shotguns. This is about guns that were used in Polytechnique, Quebec City Mosque attack, and South Simcoe to create safer communities for all Canadians.
That's all the time we have for question period today. C'est tout le temps que nous avons.